Hello again, everyone. This is a grammatical analysis of Surah 103, Surah Al-Asr, which is the chapter of time. Alright, so in this analysis, we will do at least 4 to 5 elements of grammar, and for some words, we may do the other 3 elements of morphology. Okay, so I'll just explain a bit now. Okay, so you would have, like in grammar, strength, force, sign, function, right? So in morphology you have something like category, pattern, form, meaning. Okay, so some words we'll do 5, some words we will do 8. Let's begin. So wal asri, so the first word is wa. So wa is a particle, so we just write here particle here, and then we go to the strength. The strength, every particle is fixed. Then you go to the force. The force is dragger, because as you can see, al-asri is dragged with a kasra, so this is the dragger. And then the sign will be fatha for the wa, and the function of the wa is, we just call it particle of preposition. Okay, so you have those 5 elements, as you can see from what's written inside the circles and 1 square there. Okay, so we go to the next one, al-asri. Al-asri is a noun, so we write a noun, and a noun is always changeable, so we write changeable there. And then the force of this is also dragged, so you have dd, right? So wow is the dragger and asr is dragged. And then the sign is a kasra, and then the function is the object of preposition. This is quite straightforward. Okay, now when we go to the center, you have a noun, right? So up here you will put the pattern, and then the form, and then the meaning. Okay, so the pattern of asri, so every noun you put a tanween at the back, tanween here at the back for the pattern. So asrun becomes fa'lun, right? It becomes fa'lun. Now so this is a noun. Usually when you have a noun, there are at least 3 dimensions of meaning. So you just it's either derived or original, or common or proper. Okay, now in this case we will just call it common, because it is commonly translated as time. So with that, as you can see from the word asr, we can juice out 8 elements of the word, 8 elements of grammar and morphology. So you will do that for every word whenever possible. So that is called grammatical analysis. So now, do you realize what's missing? Every time you see a preposition, okay, find the linking verb. All right. So let's do the arrow first. Okay. So this particular preposition drags the noun. Okay. Now the 2 elements of grammar. When you are good at grammar, eventually you will just identify the function, which is this and this. Okay, preposition and object of preposition. But before that, you will do 2 things, which is the force and the function. The force is basically the arrow here, the arrow. So once you know how to do the arrow, okay, how to do the functions, okay, it means you are at a higher level. You don't need to do the strength, force, sign, function anymore. You just do force and function. Okay, so now let's go back to the linking verb. So every time you see a preposition, in this case by time, is not a complete sentence, therefore you add a verb. You add an assumed verb. So in this case, the verb is uqsimu, as in I swear. Okay, I swear. So when you add a verb, it's like bismillah, right? So B is a preposition, so you assume a verb before it. So let's do the linking. So wa is linked to uqsimu, and you are done with the first verse. I swear by time. I swear by time. Okay, let's go to the second one. Okay, here's the second verse. Al insanu fi khusr. Now the second verse is actually two plus two more words, which is inna and then la before fi. So innal insana la fi khusr. Now I have stripped off those two words to show you the original sentence before it is the two emphasis particles are added. Okay, so this is the original. Okay, so the original is this. So now we're not going to do everything here because of time. So I'm just going to write that this is a particle. The phi is a particle of preposition, and khusrin is a noun, therefore object of preposition. This is the same thing with the first verse, which is a prepositional phrase, right? You have a preposition and object of preposition. Okay, so you have the arrow there. So like we said just now, once you're good at this, you just do the arrowing and the functions. Okay, now so remember something, that whenever you have a preposition, you have to find the linking verb. You can't find the linking verb, right? Okay, so now let's identify the function of insan. Insan is a noun which is at the beginning of the sentence, and it has an R, which means it's definite. Therefore, most likely it's a subject of nominal. Now what's missing again? You have when you have a subject of nominal, you have to have a predicate of nominal. In this case, there isn't any. Now some would simplify this by saying fi khusrin is the predicate, as in man in loss. So man is the subject, fi khusrin is the predicate. You can do that also, but we can do this way also, in the sense that if you don't find a predicate, you just assume there's an is here. There's an is because in Arabic you don't have an is. You don't have a literal is to express a word to express is. So man is in loss. Now once you have assumed is as the predicate of nominal, then you can say that the linking verb to fi is this. To do that, then you would have everything interconnected with the arrows. See that? Al-insanu fi khusr. Done. Okay, let's now go to the added emphasis. Now this is what we call nominal sentence, right? Sentence that begins with a noun. Now remember this: every sentence that begins with a noun is a declaration of something. So every nominal sentence is stronger than verbal sentence. A verbal sentence begins with a verb. It's just a descriptive. So you remember this. A nominal sentence is stronger than a verbal sentence because nominal sentence is declarative. What is what, as in man is in loss, and a verbal sentence is descriptive, therefore less stronger than nominal sentence. And why I'm saying that? Because this sentence is strong already, right? But what happens is that it is emphasized with inna, okay, which means it's double strong, and then it's emphasized again with la. So inna, which means indeed or certainly, la means truly. Actually, both of them means the same thing. So you have here a triple emphasis, as in nominal sentence, one emphasis, inna, second emphasis, and la is three emphasis. So what does this mean? This means that whenever you have this kind of emphasis, it means the content of the sentence is very important. It's like you have to pay attention to what is being said. Okay, so now what happens is that when inna comes into the picture, it changes the insanu, because inna lifts the word after it. So therefore it becomes inna lift the word after it. So inna is a particle of emphasis. Okay, so la is also a particle of emphasis, which does nothing. It's just a watcher to what comes after it. So therefore we have already done the grammatical analysis for verse number 2. So yeah, if you didn't do it fully, if you have any questions you can just ask me in the group. All right, so let's go to verse number 3. Okay, now we are at verse number 3. Okay, this surah is quite short, but the meanings are quite deep. Okay, now illa means except, so it's a particle of exception. Okay, particle of exception, so it's a particle of exception, and then you have alladhina. Now let's do the categories first. Okay, so this is a particle of exception. This is a pronoun, a relative pronoun. So a relative pronoun, and then amanu, which is a verb. Okay, every verb that comes after it would be, in this case waw is a pronoun, and then this is a particle of conjunction. Amilu would be again same thing with amanu, verb pronoun, and then salihat would be a noun, standard noun. Okay, so that is the category, and then let's look at the functions. Okay, so the functions of this one is particle of exception. The function of alladhina, now every time you see, not every time, but usually when you see illa, whatever that is after it, you just say that it is exception. The function is exception. Okay, so in that case you will have an arrow here, okay, and then you have amanu. Now how do we do this? Now this is verb. Okay, so the function of a verb is a verb in this case, and then pronoun will be subject of verb. Quite straightforward, right? So this one is a particle of conjunction wa, so you have that. Again, this one is a verb, and a verb always has a subject after it, and that subject is either a pronoun or a standard noun. In this case it's a pronoun. And then you have as-salihati. Now they did good deeds. Amilu, they did. As-salihat, good deeds. So the salihat is an object of verb. Now object of verb is usually have a fatha, right? It's lifted, but here it's not. Okay, so we'll go to that once we reach there again. So we go to the arrows. Okay, so amanu, verb pushes the subject of verb. Okay, verb pushes the subject of verb for amilu, and then verb lifts the object of verb, which is salihat. But then salihat as object of verb should be as-salihata. But the thing is this: whenever you use salihat, is called a standard plural female, SPF, right? Standard plural female, jama' mu'annath salim. So whenever you see that an SPF being lifted, it cannot be lifted with a fatha. You don't say as-salihata, you say as-salihati. This is a special case for standard plural female. Okay, so now let's join the connections, the arrows. Okay, now let's do al-amanu first. You see here there's a gap here, right? There's a gap in between alladhina and amanu. Now remember, the equation is this. The equation is whenever you see a relative plus a verb. Okay, meaning wise, whenever you see a relative plus a verb, the subject of verb after it, which is they, okay, is cancelled because it's redundant. Okay, so you say except the ones who believe. Except the ones who believe. You don't say except the ones who they believe, because the ones who and they are referring to the same thing. So that's meaning wise. Now in terms of grammar wise, when you see a relative plus a verb, what happens is that you take all this verbal structure, which is the verb plus subject of verb. You say that this verb, you arrow this verb is related to this relative noun. Okay, so whenever you have a relative pronoun, you find a relation. It's called in Arabic. It's called silah. So you have to find a relation. What does this really mean? Actually, it just simply means this. It just simply means that alladhina, which means the ones who you find where the uh, where the word uh, sorry, you find the relation of alladhina to the subject or verb inside, or any pronoun inside the verb that comes after it that is related to it. That's why we put the arrow here. Okay, so when you do that, you have covered the gap, you have filled the gap for that. Now you have another gap here, so how do you close the gap? You close the gap by okay, looking at this particle of conjunction, right? So what comes after it, which is all the verbal sentence after it is following, so we call it, this is a follower conjunction of the verb that comes before it, which is this. Okay, the verb that comes before it, and therefore you have filled the gaps and all the arrows are interconnected. Okay, so let's go to the next slide to complete verse number 3. Okay, this is the final slide, and it is going to be quite similar to what's previous. So let's do it. So wa is a particle of conjunction, right? Particle of conjunction. So we go straight to the functions. Okay, so tawasa is a verb, and then this is a subject of verb. Good. And then be is a preposition, and then haqi is the object of preposition. Okay, wa is a particle of conjunction, tawassul is the verb and subject of verb, and bi sabri is a preposition and object of preposition. Okay, so now let's do the linkages, the connections. Okay, the arrows. So verb pushes the subject of verb, preposition drags the object of preposition. Verb pushes the subject of verb, preposition pushes the object of preposition. Easy, right? Now you see a preposition, you have to link it, right? So you have to link to the verb before it. So in this case, the verb that is linked to it is tawassul. You have to link to a verb that makes sense, as in it's coherent to the preposition, as in the meaning is coherent, as in they urge one another to patience. So that is the verb. Sometimes you find 2-3 verbs before it, and maybe the linking verb is not the one right next to it, but a bit further. Okay, same thing for bilhaq. The linking verb would be tawassul. Okay, so all the arrows are there, but then as you can see here, there's a gap, right? There's a gap, so you close the gap by taking this verbal sentence, and because this is a conjunction, therefore this verbal sentence becomes a follower conjunction to the previous verbal sentence. Okay, so this is the follower structure, follower conjunction. So that is the end of this verse. It's quite fast actually, so the more we do this, the faster we go, and then the more we do this, the normal ones, the basic ones, we may skip, and then we just do the more difficult ones. So this is just a grammatical side of this surah. Okay, so in terms of morphology, actually we didn't do much. Okay, so that will be the focus in another lesson or another video. Thank you so much for watching.